Welcome back to the capsON podcast. My name is Tyler Blumenstick, joined by Sam Meehan, Anthony Mano, and Nick Tobias. It's week 12. It's going to be our special Turkey Day episode. We have 3 games. Oh, Wild Turkey, shut up. We got 3 NFL games at 12:30, 4:30, and 8:20.
It just keeps going. Didn't happen. Just keep going.
Oh, it happened. It happened. It happened here.
We have Houston at Detroit at 12:30, then Washington at Dallas at 4:30, then Baltimore at Pittsburgh at 8:20. I guess we'll start off with some initial thoughts on the Houston-Detroit game, which is at -3 in favor of Houston. The total is set at 51.5. I guess I'll throw it to the Wild Turkey over there for some initial thoughts on this one.
Oh, okay. All right. Why, thank you there, Tyler. Well, initially I looked at this game and I was going to take Detroit, barring they were getting both Kenny Golladay and DeAndre Swift back. But today, Tuesday, November 24th, Kenny Golladay did not practice at all. So that means he's probably not going to play. And Swift did practice, so Swift is probably going to play. So they get one of the two. But no Golladay just kind of decimates that passing offense. And we kind of saw it last week when they played Carolina. They weren't able to get anything going.
0 points.
Made a goose egg.
So, yeah, they couldn't get anything going offensively, to say the least. So, I think if they're missing Golladay again, I think the Texans are an easy pick here. What we got, 2.5 or 3.5?
It's 3 right now on the dot.
I'll take the -3 here. Deshaun Watson has kind of flipped the switch this kind of back half of these past couple weeks. I don't know if Houston's gonna be without Kenny Stills. I know Randall Cobb they're probably gonna be without, but if they still have Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks and Deshaun Watson, which I think is all that really matters. Both don't have a defense. But Deshaun Watson, I'll put my money on him instead of Matt Stafford. So those are my initial thoughts. Houston, 3, -. What's the over/under in this game?
51.5. I say under.
I think Detroit's inability to score definitely keeps it on the under. And, Matt Stafford's also dealing with an injured thumb, and I don't know if that has quite healed fully. So Houston -2 or -3. Houston -3. Houston -3.
Yeah, I totally agree with Houston. I mean, they're coming off a big win against New England. I mean, not that there's no big win in the sense, they're going to catapult them to a playoff spot, but something to build confidence off of, maybe, get a little mini run going into next year, and then maybe next year to compete for the AFC South. But you said without Golladay, they're lost offensively. And 51.5, definitely the under there. If you like trends, the last 3 years, the under is 7-2 in Thanksgiving games.
So you're saying you're going to bet under all 3 of these games?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe a little round robin action.
Preview. The Lions haven't won a Thanksgiving game since 2016 when they played the Minnesota Vikings and won 16-13. They've lost 2 straight.
That was only 3 years ago. So they lost 3 straight times. Okay.
So yeah, all right. So they lost to the Bears last year, the Bears the year before that, and the Vikings the year before that. I don't think that changes this year. I think this Texans team coming off a big win against the Patriots, and obviously it's not the Patriots that we, have seen the past X amount of years, however timestamp you want to put on it. It's still a big win in their eyes. Anytime you beat the Patriots, whether it's, this year, last year, anytime, it still holds some sort of water for these guys. I think they're going to carry that momentum into Thursday. I think that even rings true when Detroit, like we said, scored 0 points. You have 5 days to turn around and put up more points on a Thursday game. Give me the Texans -3. Fairly easily.
Dude, 0 points is bad.
0, none. 0 with like a slash through it to specify that
not
it's
a
0.
Great defense either in Carolina. Like, they're not a bad defense, but they're like middle of the road.
And they low key they didn't get picked apart by PJ Walker,
They
but
got-
there were stints in that game where PJ Walker looked like he was going to do, well enough, right? So if you take whatever PJ Walker just did to that and extrapolate it by like 150, that's
Big
Deshaun
word.
Watson, right? Yeah, right. SAT word. They're gonna get more out of Deshaun Watson than PJ Walker, obviously. So I think it's fairly easy here to take the Texans.
Yeah, we're going to get a consensus 4-way pick here on Houston. I just feel like this is a what have you done for me lately kind of game. Both teams are really bad against the spread. Houston's 3-7, Detroit's 4-6. Houston's 1-4 against the spread on the road. Detroit is 1-3 against the spread at home. So like, there's literally no trend that you can point out kind of in those numbers that'll point you in one direction or the other. But Detroit's been blown out 3 of the last 4 weeks, and Houston got a decent win against New England last week. So I don't know.
I think that was way more than a decent win. I mean, I took New England last week as an easy money because I thought that they were just going to run the ball down Houston's throat, and that plays into what the Patriots wanted to do, and clearly they weren't able to do it. And then when they put the ball in Cam Newton's hands, he wasn't able to keep up with Deshaun Watson. So I think the whole keeping up game is going to play a huge factor in here. And I think Deshaun Watson plays significantly better, and it is more of an igniter than Matt Stafford is, especially with a hurt thumb.
Yeah, totally agreed. All right,
Will
let's move
Matt
on.
Patricia get fired this week? No, pause.
Huh?
Will Matt Patricia get fired this week if he loses on Thanksgiving?
No.
Probably not.
No.
Not yet.
He
I
keeps his
think-
job till Christmas.
I think he'll get fired at about 4:08 p.m. on January 3rd, which is, I believe, the Sunday of Week 17.
Bookmark it.
I'm assuming they will play the 1 o'clock window.
How did you?
And then they will
just
lose
pull
the
that
game.
out? How did you just pull that out?
It's big brain time.
It is big brain time. All right, let's move on
That's
to the
impressive.
Let's move on to the 4:30 game. It's Washington at Dallas. The line is also 3 in favor of Dallas. The total set at a low 46 for today, or for this game. I'll run through the trends really quick. Washington is 4-5-1 against the spread. Dallas is a really bad 2-8. The Frozen Sam is pointing under.
So that's
just
2
know
in
it.
a row. I mean, Dallas has covered 2. They were 0-8 against spread. They're now 2-8.
It's a good point.
Moving in the right
They're looking
direction.
better.
In terms of location, Washington's 1-3 on the road. Dallas 1-4 at home.
So these teams are what you're telling me. Both of these teams are bad at football.
Well, no, they're actually. If you want me to get specific with you, they're actually a half game out of first place in the division.
Out of the worst division of all sports, it's
The
not
Giants
just
are the
football.
best.
Half a
in the
game out of
division.
first place is a half a game out of first place.
This is a very big game. Like,
It's a
I
huge
mean,
game.
Mhm.
I know they're
tough
both 3-7, but this is a huge football game.
I mean, it low key decides the winner of the NFC East this year, and it's
Well-
kind of crazy that it's coming down
Well,
to
the Giants still exist too, so let's not forget about them.
Plays a big role.
It does. I mean, I'll
Oh yeah.
kick it off here.
But
Oh.
no, you go.
Technical difficulties.
Go ahead,
Good?
go ahead, Stikey.
You want me to go? All right.
Damn it!
You're good. You're good.
For-
You're still here.
I'm torn here because I want to take Dallas because they did look pretty decent last week against a Minnesota team that was surging in the weeks before that. They ended
were
up
7-point
eking out a
dogs.
win.
They were 7-point dogs in that game.
Yeah,
And they won
came
outright.
out a win. I liked Minnesota minus
impressive.
7. I didn't take them, but I mean I liked it. I thought it was going to be a pretty safe pick, and it would have ended up being pretty wrong. But
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh,
Just a little. Yeah, look, I don't
a little
know
bit.
what to expect out of this Dallas offense here. Like, I think Andy Dalton's going to be able to be a veteran guy and really get the ball to the weapons that he has. Zeke looks like he's running a lot harder than he has earlier in the season. But Nick mentioned it last week with Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin and how they're a top running back wide receiver duo.
Don't you dare flip on
I feel like no, I'm not going to totally flip, but I feel like I gave you a little bit too much flack on this because it's a respectable duo here, and with Alex Smith playing like a very competent quarterback the last 3 weeks in terms of throwing the football. I don't know who to take here. I'm going to take the points with Washington because I think their defense is pretty legit. I mean, not that I think it, that my opinion matters. It is pretty legit. But, yeah, I mean, that's where I stand. I'm going to go with Washington and take the points.
So the last time these two teams played, the Washington football team won 25-3. It was also the same game that Andy Dalton got a concussion and left the game. But before he left the game, he was 9 of 19 for 73 yards and an interception. Bad, to say the least. Less than 50% throwing an interception. So this defense is legit, and it's no joke. That not only do they play great against their secondary plays great against the pass, but their front four is formidable. Especially you saw with Chase Young last week, kind of blowing up Joe Burrow's spot. And now you look at another Dallas football team whose offensive line has just been decimated by injuries all season. And Zeke was able to get downhill last week. And I think they played very well last week. And Minnesota hasn't really been good all year. They've just been running a hot streak. And I think it was their time to lose a football game. But I do think that I will take Washington here with the points. I mean, you mentioned before, Stig, about how Alex Smith is playing very well, and I think Ron Rivera is getting whatever he needs to get out of Alex Smith. He threw for 325 2 weeks ago. He threw for 390 a couple weeks ago. I don't know how much he threw for last week, but clearly Alex Smith has found a home on this Washington football team and feels comfortable in this offense and knows what he's doing. Terry McLaurin's a stud. Antonio Gibson is very good. I don't want to call him a stud yet, but he's putting up numbers this year that are very good for a rookie running back on a team like this that's been going through the season they've been going through. It's a road game in Dallas, but road games don't really mean much anymore without a crowd. And it's Thanksgiving, and they're always close games. And I'll take Washington plus whatever you're giving me right now.
Yeah,
Hit it, Sam.
Yeah,
Play the hits.
Like Dalton, he looked not good against Washington a few weeks ago. Did look sharp last week. That Washington defense has been pretty good all year. But I think what's the big difference is between last matchup between Washington and Dallas is Ezekiel Elliott. He was, from the few weeks before and after that first matchup, he just looked, uninterested. He's only getting like 10 to 15 touches a game. And I think Mike McCarthy finally realized last week that, Zeke's like pretty good, if we give him the ball. And I've been on Washington like pretty much as I saw this line open. But I'm actually going to flip it. I'm going to go Dallas -3.
Because what?
I think Zeke will be able to, if they give Zeke the ball again, like they were last week a little bit, take some pressure off Dalton. Dalton's a veteran quarterback, He's had games before where he looks like crap, but the dude can still play football. He looks a little more healthy now, and Zeke looks interested now that they're back in the division race a little bit. And I don't know, I think Dallas is going to take this by 5-6 points.
What we got the line at? 4.5, Stick?
3.
3. I think this is a little closer to a pick'em.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dallas gets that 3-point bump, even though, home in a COVID environment is a little different. It's still Dallas. They're still going to have fans there, and those fans are going to be packed in as tight as possible because they do not care.
Yeah, Jerry don't care.
Yeah, Jared. No, the air flows through there, so he's it's all good.
It's Jay's
I'm
world.
picking Washington here. I'm picking Washington here. For many of the same reasons that you guys said that I don't have to reiterate. That defense is elite, but I will reiterate that defense is elite. Alex Smith is playing like a competent quarterback because that's what he is. I think they win this game outright. So I will throw in some stats here. The Cowboys are 5-6 at AT&T Stadium on Thanksgiving. Does it matter? It might. I don't think it matters that much. But Mike McCarthy was 3-2 on Thanksgiving when he was the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. So,
but that Green Bay Packers team was also that Green Bay Packers
Sure.
team is. I mean, you look at this Dallas football team; it's really not good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Granted, CeeDee Lamb was balling out last week, and Ezekiel Elliott had over 100 yards rushing. But do they do that again? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I think the Vikings were in a letdown spot. I just don't think that I don't think anybody really projected them to lose like that to the Minnesota
To the Dallas.
the Vikings to lose to Dallas like that. I think Dallas is now in a letdown spot. Thanksgiving, big game. Washington comes in hungry. That defense is elite. Give me
Does
the points
Dallas
with
play on
Washington.
every Thanksgiving?
So does yes,
Yeah,
they
Dallas
do,
and Detroit
and
are-
Detroit.
Both always
Why?
home.
Why?
America's team. You asked the question. I just gave you
Just
the
the way
answer.
it is, man. I'm fine.
I know. I hate the answer. I hate the answer. The problem is I hate the answer. I just hate the answer.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Life goes on.
All right. Move
on?
us along, Sticky.
All right. The last game of our Thanksgiving special is the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just a quick tidbit about the line. It opened at Steelers -1.5. It's actually Steelers -5.5 now. Total set at 44.5. So really, really low. Some notables about this one: Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins on the COVID list, along with who else, guys?
Pernell McPhee and Brandon Williams.
Okay, so
Two
there's
guys
two
on
losers.
offense, two guys on defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know Pernell McPhee? He's been in
Nope.
the league for like 17 years. He's like only 31, but he's been in the league for like 17 years. I think he's
Man,
on the
that's
Harry
awesome.
Ellis of the
Does that
NFL.
math add up? Does that math add up?
Yes, he was drafted at 13 years old.
14, Sammy. 14.
Well, he turned 14 like after the
Oh,
draft.
okay. Oh, he was one of those guys that Saban recruited out of elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of those guys. Baltimore is 4-5-1 against the spread. Pittsburgh 8-2. Baltimore 2-2-1 on the road, and Pittsburgh 4-1 against the spread at home. Baltimore 1-0 as an underdog or a pick'em, and Pittsburgh is 6-2 as a favorite. And when the total was 43.5 to 46.5 for Pittsburgh, they've won all three over. So.
Listen, I just look at
Interesting.
this I look at this Baltimore Ravens offense, and it's bad. They're struggling, and unfortunately for a struggling offense, they have to play arguably, actually not even arguably, the best defense in the league. The Ravens have lost 2 in a row in 3 of their last 4, so they're hurting offensively, and they scored 24 or less in each of those 4 games. Like I said, when your offense is struggling like that, the Steelers' defense is really not the unit that you want to be coming up against to kind of be in a get-right game. Pittsburgh has recorded a sack in at least 67 consecutive games, 4 interceptions last week. I mean, I can go on and on about Pittsburgh's defense, but their offense kind of took a jump last week. And I mean, I'm not really too sure what Juju Smith-Schuster's injury is like. I don't know what his game outlook is like for this week, but I really don't think it makes a difference. Deontay Johnson has balled out as soon as he came off the IR. Chase Claypool's a stud. They have a nice two-head. I mean, they have I don't want to call it two-headed monster, but you have James Conner in the backfield, backed up by Benny Snell Jr., who is pretty good. You know, Big Ben has been in these games before, these big-time games, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's the playoffs, whether it's Super Bowl. And I just really like the matchup here, and they know how to beat the Baltimore Ravens. When they played earlier this year, I mean, Big Ben led the Steelers to a second-half comeback, but their defense is what, held them down. And I think if they can hold – all it really does is taking the running game away from Baltimore and being without J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, you're really just kind of relying on Gus Edwards to kind of tear apart this defense, and I don't really think that's going to happen at all. I think Pittsburgh wins another one. They go 11 or 12-0, whatever it is, and I think they definitely cover 5.5 here.
I'm with you. I mean, I feel a little stupid. I mean, Baltimore sits at 6-4 at this point, so it's a little different situation than they were in last year at this point in the season. But with the Baltimore team, and you mentioned it, like they can't score, and Pittsburgh has been just stout on defense. I feel like you can't possibly argue that one bit. I think this is going to be a runaway game for Pittsburgh. I mean, Baltimore is still a pretty solid team, but like you said, again, they can't move it on offense. And I can't really say much else other than the fact that I think I have a very strong gut feeling that Pittsburgh is going to just run them out of Heinz Field.
Yeah, and they're playing home. I mean, come on.
With fans, on Thanksgiving. I feel like this is a Steelers win here. Yeah, whip it around. There you go.
Sam, hit me.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So
Here he goes.
obviously, like you look at this game, Pittsburgh is the obvious pick here. I saw him early at 3.5, 4, and I was all over that. And I've kind of looked a little more into this game, and yeah, Baltimore, they've had struggles scoring, moving the ball, but the Pittsburgh offense has not been super lethal. I feel like you were just thinking. I mean, they still rank in the bottom half of the league in total offense. Actually, they rank under Baltimore in total offense. And so both teams are very good defensively. Obviously, Pittsburgh is the best of the best, and Baltimore is still a solid defense. So under, what was it, 40?
44.5, I think.
Yeah, that's a little low. I would lean under, but maybe see if it bumps up a little bit. I'm gonna go Baltimore plus 5.5 because I think they are the far more desperate team in this game. I know they're missing Dobbins and Ingram, but what's his name? Gus Edwards. That the other one.
No, he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
He's their only.
Yeah, no, but he's still a solid running back.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a full workload, but I think this is arguably maybe the biggest game of Lamar Jackson's career. Two, early playoff exits, starting to think this guy can't play in big games. You're 6-4. You're playing a 10-0 division rival on the road on Thanksgiving. They're currently the first team of the playoffs in the AFC. They need to win this game in order to stay in the playoff hunt. And I'm not sure if they'll win the game, but it's going to be a very competitive game, and I think that they can keep it within 6 points.
A desperate football team.
Well, they have to keep it within 5.5 points, technically.
A desperate
within
football
6
team
is 5, and that's under 5.5 as well.
Well, 6 is technically more than 5, so 6 is
within
Frozen
6,
stand.
meaning less than 6. You can't win by 5.5 because there's no half points in football.
I
Only
got
betting
so
football.
mad that he started freezing.
Again?
I love it. All
No,
right, go
you're
ahead.
back. You're back.
All right. Close it out.
Listen, a desperate football
I
team
hate
is
this.
one of the most. A desperate football team is one of the most dangerous things you can come against, right? I'm with Sam with Baltimore plus 5.5. If you're gonna take Baltimore, you better get on them early now, because it's gonna dip back down to 3.5, 4. So get as many
Money
points as you can
line.
with Baltimore right now. That said, the last time these two teams met, it was a 28-24 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers at M&T Bank. Do they play M&T? No, it's not M&T. It's whatever, wherever Baltimore plays.
You're right. I think.
I am right.
That's
Nice.
right.
Solid.
That sounds right.
Baltimore outplayed Pittsburgh every step of the way. They had more rushing yards. They had more passing yards. It wasn't there, more total yards in the game. The problem was Lamar Jackson turned the ball over 4 times, 2 fumbles, 2 picks. That probably doesn't happen again, whether they play into Lamar Jackson's hand a little bit more. They don't ask him to do too much, right? He's not going to throw 2 picks, fumble twice again. There won't be 4 turnovers in that game. One of those picks were returned for a touchdown anyways. So that's a 7-point swing anyways. I'm not overly concerned about J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram being out. J.K. Dobbins, 15 carries, 113 yards the last time these two teams played, but Gus Edwards had 16 for 87, right? So, and a touchdown. So if they can get some production, equivalent production out of that, I think it's easy here to pick Baltimore in a division game, a desperate team to stay in it. 5.5 points, sure. It's going to go back down to 3.5, so get it now.
I did while you were talking, actually.
Thank you. I'm glad my advice rings with one person.
All right, so that rounds out our Turkey Day episode. 3 games, Houston at Detroit, Washington at Dallas, and Baltimore at Pittsburgh. 12:30, 4:30, and 8:20. But that pretty much rounds out this episode. You can check us out on social media at capsON Sports on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. capsonsports.com. Everything's in the bio, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Wherever someone's pointing, the bio's somewhere, you know where it is. But for Tyler Blumenstick, Nick Tobias, Anthony Mano, and Sam Meehan, we'll see you Friday for the rest of this episode.